Welcome back. Today I have an automation that is very requested from a lot of different people. This is posting those AI generated shorts completely on autopilot to YouTube with no human intervention required at all. Because there's essentially no work requirement after you set this up, it's bringing in pretty big numbers to channels as they've just been running autonomously for a while. And a lot of people have asked me for a breakdown on this type of automation, so I decided to make a video for you guys on this, as a lot of you might find this very useful for yourself or to make some extra cash as well. So let's jump into it. So this is an overview of what the automation looks like. Now, like usual, we have pinned data. So when you see these purple pinned signals, that is just pinning the data, so I don't have to keep putting in new data every single time. As always, if you want to unpin the data, you can open any of these nodes and click unpin. But in this case, I'm leaving it pinned. Now, another thing to mention as well is we are posting these all to YouTube in this automation. So we have a YouTube node here. We also have this option that I'll go over later that is using Blotato. So this will be paid, but the YouTube is free. This allows you to post things to things like Instagram or TikTok as well. Now we also have all the details of our setup guide. So any API keys you need or resources that you need will all be here. Here's your Google Sheet template. And if you don't want to build this automation from scratch, I also have a massive community of over 700 members where I give you all of the automation templates that you need and documentation to set all of these workflows up that you see. There are live office hours with my developer team and my sales assistants, so you can do things like build your own AI automation agency. And we give you all of the resources that you need, whether you're running a business or building an AI automation agency, such as contract templates, sales documents, pricing guides, a variety of different training and sales videos, and a ton of business assets that may help you. We also have a variety of other things as well, like a massive automation library, $4 million in software discounts for things like Google, Notion, Make.com, Airtable, and basically infinite amount of softwares, and many more things that you can check out with the link in the description, or you can go to wap.com/exosoft and see if it's a good fit for you. So I'll show you the quality of the videos that get produced. So first of all, we just did a few examples. Now this can kind of be anything you want. This doesn't have to be these glass fruit videos. But as you can see, very high end. These are going ridiculously viral. I literally posted one myself and the second video did around 30,000 views. Or you can do like storytelling videos as well. You can see the quality of video that it's actually outputting is pretty decent. So you can kind of do things like overlay this video with captions or build your own sort of storytelling videos. It's up to you. You basically get full customizability. So I'll get into that in the idea agent, but this is where we'll message the prompt. So I'll talk about that later. So first of all, our schedule trigger tells us when to run. I just have this running every 8 hours. So our next step here is to get all of our objects. So this is pretty much the only manual task when it comes to this process. But if you really want, you can literally automate making these Google Sheets as well, or auto filling them in for you. I'm not gonna get into that in this video. So if we look at the Google Sheet here, this is where we're gonna type in all of the objects that we want. So an example here is we've typed in mango, and because this workflow is now done, it will tell us done, and it will give us the output URL that it will use to post on YouTube as well. And then everything that you want to be produced, you're gonna type in here. So you could do like strawberries, blueberries, or any other objects that you want. When you hit run, this will go through the process, set this to done for you, and then give you the URLs in this Google Sheet. So this is where you'll keep tracking everything. And then one important thing for the Google Sheet as well is when you open this, you just have to make a copy of the Google Sheet. So file, make a copy, and then you can use that. And then you're basically going to, in all of the different Google Sheet nodes that we have, there's only 2 of them here. What I've done here is just pinned data. So when you unpin this and then you type stuff in the Google Sheet, your output in this Google Sheet node will depend what you type in. So we have pinned a variety of different objects here. And then when you go to change your credentials for the Google Sheets, what you'll have to do is just select the copy of the Google Sheet you made and the sheet, and then you'll just click add filter. You're going to select the column to status, and you're just going to type in to create exactly like this. And then for our other Google Sheet node, we're going to do the same thing. So when I go to switch it, I will just have to reselect the Google Sheet that I want to use. But this should all stay the same after you've done the first node. If not, you'll just have to map the different volumes. By map each columns manually, you'll select object to match, and all of your objects are listed along here. You can just drag any object into here. So in this case, we have object, and then what this will do is aggregate all of the data. You don't have to change anything in here, and then it will set an object list. So all of the objects that we put in will be set here and created with different objects. This will take the objects in the form of one item, which is this objects list, and put it into this idea agent. So this is where we'll prompt it as showed earlier. This is taking all of our different objects. As we can see, this is what it's referencing. And if we open our prompt here, this is where we'll change our system message. So this is where you're actually going to change the idea for the video. So if you don't want it to be one of those ASMR knife cutting videos, you can do whatever you want here. And in this case, we've also just prompted it to generate one new fruit that's not on that list and make it out of glass. And it will not repeat any of the 7 provided items. We just put this in here so it doesn't hallucinate. It will prioritize fruits that are aesthetic and interesting. And then we've also just prompted it on what the actual file will look like as well. So that's just kind of what this idea agent looks like we have this hooked up to GPT 4.1 mini as well. So just make sure you set this up with your credentials. I've went over the credential stuff in the past. So again, I won't get into that. We have this object and caption here. You can just leave this as is. You shouldn't have to edit this at all. And then we have our prompt agent. So essentially what this is doing is taking instructions from this idea and turning this into an actual prompt with a bunch of instructions that you can change. Again, this is what you'll change if you want to change the video style. As you can see, this is the output of the prompt that we actually get. So in this case, we got a kiwi resting on a dark walnut cutting board, and it has all the interesting details that will make it hyper realistic. So for a few of these nodes as well, I also just pinned the data because I don't want to exhaust my credentials as I'm running this workflow constantly. I recommend doing the same. If you find that you're getting errors on any of these nodes here, it might be because you're exhausting all of your API credits. So I recommend pinning data so you don't do that. To pin data, if you run it and you get an output for it, you can just click pin right here or unpin the data, which will allow it to copy that exact same data for each run that you do so you can test this workflow out. Now the actual software that we are using for this is called Kai.ai. This allows you to use a variety of different video gen tools. So in this case, we're using Kling 2.6 text to video. This model specifically is very good and also quite cost efficient as well. So one thing you'll want to do as well is set this up with your API key. So we're using this URL here. Your authentication is where you will set up your API key. So we just have a generic credential type with a header auth, and then this is where you'll edit your key. So if you click edit, the name will be authorization, and then your API key will go there. So if you go over to Kai.ai, once you sign in, you'll have a ton of different video models that you can use here, but to get your API key, you'll just do API keys, and then this is where you'll have your key. You'll copy this and you'll put it into your credentials here. And everything here should look exactly like this, as it will already be set up for you. You can also see the actual cost of everything here. So every video will be about 80 to 100-ish credits. It's relatively cheap for what you're getting here. So it's a pretty good deal, I found. Now, one thing I also recommend is checking if we have software discounts in the community. Unfortunately, we don't actually have a partnership with Kai, but just for future reference, any software that you go to use, if you go to the $4 million software discounts in the community and open this, you will see a massive library of tons of software discounts. We have some really good ones here that we use for almost every automation. So things like Gemini credits can be used here. As you can see, there's so much. There's over $4 million in discounts, and it's basically just endless with big softwares. So if you're not already, I highly recommend using any of these discounts you can. They're great discounts, and it's super easy to sign up for these. If you have any issues with your API key or you're just confused about it, we also have a documentation here. So this will basically show you exactly how you can get everything set up here. If you ever do need further help though, just let us know in our community, in any of the chats, as we have developers monitoring those, so you can get custom support. So after this is all set up like so, and if you do want to change the model, you can do this by changing the text here. So you'll just type it in like VEO 3.1. or so on. All the details for if you want to change the model can also be in this here. Any details for changing the model will be on the Kai website. If you click try on any of the different models and you go to your API documentation, you'll find all of the details in there for that. So when the video completes, the output is going to be in the form of a task ID. So it will take some time to make the video. So we have a 5-minute wait timer here. And then after 5 minutes, just giving it a bit of buffer. So we assume that the video is done. We are getting the video based on that task ID. So this node here is a get. This is the URL endpoint that we're using. This will be set up for you, so you don't have to change this. Again, you'll want to make sure your credential types are set up like before. And then what we're doing is, these are the query parameters for task ID. And then this is the value that we get. If you change your credentials and this disappears, you'll just add a new parameter, name it task ID, exactly like so. And then for the value, if this is empty, we can just go under generate video Kai.ai and then just drag this task ID in there, and then it will show up like this. Now, we also just have a little system here where if it fails to get the video, say it's not done yet, it'll just go through an error, it'll wait 30 seconds, and then it will try again. And then on success, when it retrieves the video, it will put it into this node here. This node here is essentially just modifying what we get from the result and then turning it into just the URL. And then what it's doing is putting that URL in our Google Sheet. And because I've pinned the data, it might show up a little bit different from what I initially put in the Google Sheet. But essentially what this is doing is putting that link in the Google Sheet in the form of a URL. So what it will do in the Google Sheet is, say we have pomegranate here and we type this in and it is set as to create before. It will give us the output and it will set it as done. And then if we open this here, it will download and then we can see what it looks like. There we go, looks pretty good. And then once we get that changed, we will append that link in the Google Sheet. So as you can see, we are just appending it in the same Google Sheet. This is what everything should look like. It is setting the status as done and it is putting the URL in there. The object is just red because I have data pinned and haven't executed the workflow, but that will be green once everything's unpinned and whatnot. We have an HTTP request node. What this node is doing is taking our link and giving us a binary file because YouTube needs that to actually upload the video. We can't just give it the URL directly. So in the node, it is the method of get. We are using our URL here. And this is what our output will look like. And after this finishes, you will get the actual binary file of the video. So now we have to finally add it to YouTube. So we're gonna set this up with your YouTube account credential. This is what all of the parameters will look like. You don't really have to change anything here. Now it's quite similar to setting up your credentials for everything else. And I'll just go over how you can get this just in case you're not familiar. So if you go to Google Cloud Console, once you've signed into Google Cloud Console, you're going to the search bar and you're going to search for YouTube data. And then you'll see YouTube Data API v3, open this. And then we're gonna click enable on this here. And now that you've enabled that, you'll need your redirect URL, your client ID, and your client secret. How you get that is by creating a project in your Google Cloud. Now it's a quick search on how to do this. I'm not gonna get into this because I've already set up a project. But if I go to APIs and services and click this and go to credentials, I will see my project here. I will open this. And then from here, you'll be able to get your client ID, your client secret you can access here, and then your redirect URL. You're gonna put all of these things back into here, and then you're good to go. In our YouTube node, the title will be the title that we get from the YouTube agent. And if we look under the idea agent, we're just using the actual caption for that because it's a short, so this will show up as the title and the caption. Now, I have also included this paid posting node. So this is using Blotato. This will allow us to upload to Instagram, TikTok as well, and then we have this connected to YouTube. Now we have the Blotato link here as well, but essentially what you're going to do is hook up this API endpoint, which is already set for you. You're going to set up your credentials in here. This is a paid service. And then when you hook this up to the actual workflow, you're going to, again, have the JSON.URL there. It's the same thing that we're doing when we have this node here. So this will go into Blotato. This is what it's giving it. And then when we connect this to the workflow, what you're going to do is put the JSON URL here. So same thing that we have in this node right here, as you can see. In Blotato, I'm not going to get into the process of setting this all up, but it's quite simple. You're going to connect the software to your different Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube accounts, give it permission, and then once you get the API from it, you'll set it up here. You can hook this up to the workflow, and then if you so choose, have paid posting like so. So there we have it. This is how you can post those completely AI shorts on autopilot. Hopefully this helps. If you have any questions, feel free to hit us in any of our text channels, message any of our team members, and show up to our community office hours on Tuesdays and Thursdays, as we'll do our best to help you through any problems that you need. But that's it for this week's workflow. We'll see you in the next one next week. Peace.